Okay, so a lot of people say to start us on podcasts somewhere about whatever. They got a big show today. But here at Pat's Interference, we got a big show today. Jabril Peppers joining us. Actually, just a couple of hours ago, finished recording with him at Gillette before he headed to practice. Another 4-minute drill. In case you're new, this means football and non-football questions. Jabril Peppers revealing he's a big old softy, big old romantic. Before that, we have Megan Ottolini of WEEI, Mike Manansky, formerly of WEEI, joining the show to give you the headline of this episode, the meat of today, a Patriots fan's guide to surviving year one of a rebuild. Because, folks, we all know, even if you are the optimist out there, the way this offensive line looks, now playing without Matthew Judon, Jacoby Brissett is going to start. We're going to get to that in a second. This season is going to be the middle of every horror movie you've ever watched. There's a lot of pain. There's probably going to be a little bit of blood, and you're going to be scared at some point for someone who probably goes down in the end. We're here to get you through that, okay? And we have a little bit of fun with this. You can't drink, I wouldn't advise, every single Sunday to some point, but some days pick it up, do whatever you need to. Aside from that, actual advice on how to approach the season. Megan also is a long-suffering Washington fan, has some tangible advice where Mutt and I mostly mess around. But to the football part of this, and there's some real football talk in the upcoming conversation, don't get me wrong. Jacoby Brissett is the starter for a lot of reasons. Number one, in my mind, is that the Patriots are just not ready for Drake May. And it's not because Drake May is perfectly ready himself. I think what Alex Van Pelt has cited multiple times to us, to Yahoo Sports when he spoke with Jory Epstein on Sunday, quotes that I tweeted about, have cited in multiple columns now, saying, look, Jacoby's just much more equipped to start week one because he knows our whole offense and he knows all of the blitzes and simulated pressures and creepers and everything he's going to see and will have answers for it. And Drake doesn't, because Drake's 21. And we can say that for all of one more day. His birthday's on Friday, but everyone is going to cling to that. And so we're just going to give him more time. But the second part is not only the Patriots not ready for this offensive line, Jacoby has been prepared as the starter all spring and summer. He took over 98% of the snaps in training camp. He started not just all of those team periods, but all 3 preseason games. And at the end of the last preseason game, Gerard Mayo goes, yeah, Drake's our second best quarterback. Well, there you have it. Now, you might ask yourselves, why didn't we get here sooner? That's a great question. And if you would ask that today at the press conference, first of all, you would have asked one of 2 questions that Gerard Mayo took before skedaddling and what was it might be the first time anyone's ever been described as an NFL head coach as skedaddling, but that's exactly what he did. He skedaddled after 2 questions for a press conference that was scheduled after the fact because he didn't want to announce it on Wednesday. Fine, whatever. And to be honest, I'm tired of writing about Gerard Mayo in the press conferences. I did this all spring. I mentioned the OJ column multiple times, spilling it on himself. He's still spilling OJ, by which I mean there's a lot of unforced errors, including today when he goes, we decided, oh, wait, I decided, because only now he's publicly taking ownership of the biggest decision on the team, which he should as the head coach, but also then saying Jacoby Brissett is our starter for the season, to which our mine and yours, Doug Kyde, asked him with the second and final question, hey, does that mean Drake can't start at all this year if he's your starter for the season? He goes, oh, well, I don't want to get hypotheticals. That was a good answer, hypothetical, but again, digging himself out of problems. I'm just tired of talking about Gerard Mayo behind the mic. I would love, and we'll soon see and get to critique and scrutinize Gerard Mayo, football coach, on the sidelines, because that's what he's getting paid to do. But this whole thing was made more complicated because of his comments, not only just those, but admitting that Drake May has outplayed Jacoby Brissett. And he did the last 2 weeks. It's absolutely a factor. But the bigger factor is this whole season is not about trying to win week 1 against the Bengals. It's about Drake May's development. And that dude is not going to be helped if he's thrown to the wolves, even if he could pick up all of the answers and blitz solutions and counters and this and that in the next week or 2 or 3. It's about developing him long-term into the franchise quarterback. You and I watch this preseason and go, that's the good stuff. Okay? So if it takes some time, it takes some time. This was the right decision. It was too convoluted. We took a scenic route that really wasn't all that scenic. It was really just more frustrating listening to Rod's comments, but it's over. It's done with. And so, yes, absolutely. Just as I did, everyone should take their fair shot at Gerard for the PR stuff. PR stuff is, for now, over. The competition has been won. It's Jacoby Brissett's job. He was treated like the starter from the get-go, and lo and behold, he's going to be that week 1. So that's my take. You'll get Mutt's take next, and Megan's going to join in. And we had a lot of fun with this episode. So here we go. Your guide to surviving the Patriots 2024 NFL season. Okay, so I can't count on his appreciation necessarily in the world famous Mutt Stack letter on Fridays, which you should be subscribing to because he's described himself as bottom of the totem pole. But let the record show on my own podcast, Mike Manansky of the world famous Mutt Stack, I've asked you to come on before today, and you turned me down, or you couldn't do it, or something.
Yeah, no.
So I'm glad to have you back, Mike.
Bull crap. It was once you asked me last minute on a Tuesday for a Thursday. I couldn't do it. Every other time I've come on here because your coverage is very good, and you went to UConn. That's it. That's the only reason. You're not a great guy. You're not like awesome at your job. Your coverage is good, but you went to UConn, so that's helpful.
Yeah, good. All right, and this is why you're on, is to tell me the truth and to say it just like that.
And today's perfect because after what I just watched or listened to for 75 seconds today at Gillette Stadium.
Yeah. Okay, so here's the deal, and you know this because I emailed this to you partly. I want 3 spicy takes from you. I want 2 right away, 2 giant apps, and then I want your spiciest for last. And you can choose whatever order you determine them. I don't even know what you're going to say. I've said my piece about the press conference and the worst kept secret in the NFL finally being out. Jacoby Brissett is going to start week 1. A completely unnecessary journey that we all took following Gerard Mayo through this, woods of word salads that he had for us on and on again. So let's get right to it. What if you're opening a show today? What are you saying? What's your take?
Mayo seems completely overwhelmed. And what the media part of it has been since day one when they've done this thing, and we may have talked about this with the hiring. When him and Elliot Wolf did this thing, Andrew, where it was like, we're not Bill Belichick. We're the anti-Bill. It's friendlier. And they told everybody that. And Mayo went above and beyond too much. And and through training camp, the stuff that I've watched, the stuff that you've covered, it looks like way too much. And then today, with the quarterback announcement, he says, yesterday, I'm going to make the announcement today. You show up at 8:30. You can't say this. I will. It is ridiculous. You had to go down there today. Ridiculous that they brought the media down there for 75 seconds. And I've just seen a guy who doesn't quite know how he wants to interact with the media. Hello, friends. Like right out of the gate, it gives you that thing today. And I'm worried that he's so overwhelmed with the media that stuff's happening with the team. And I'm hopeful that the football side of it is better than the media side, because the media side is bad. Him going on Monday on EEI and saying Drake May is winning the quarterback competition, and then naming Brissett the quarterback on Thursday, saying we and then I, almost purposely, it has been bad. I thought Bill Belichick had to go. I was ready to move on. This has been a wildly underwhelming turnover from Belichick to Wolf and Mayo. And that's my biggest concern, is that this guy's not ready. Long way of saying he doesn't appear ready to me.
Yeah, look, I'm going to cite the column again because I just think it has been exceptionally, more than I expected, foretelling about what would happen when in March he's trying to make a Bill joke with the orange juice, spills it on himself. And you're like, oh, this keeps happening. Where to curry favor with the media or be positive. And some of this was organic to him. I don't think he's putting on in this sense, but he's doing something not in the best interest of the team. It's in the best interest of his relations with the media, which I think are important. But it comes back to bite him. That happened again today. This press conference was done as a favor to us, and then ends up not being a favor because he lets it end, as you said, after 75 seconds. I will say the other part is it's no coincidence that it was leaked to Ian Rappaport and Adam Schefter from the meeting before he comes to talk to the local media, at which point just send out a statement. I will say, though, he genuinely wants a good relationship with the media. It's the messaging that's getting botched, and I'm with you. We can put the PR stuff aside. That's not going to put anything in the scoreboard or in the standings, and that's what we're all here for, is the football. Yeah. But in the meantime, there's no way you can just hear the easy part and be like, oh, you'll nail the hard stuff when it's a team meeting in week 5 and you got guys who are pissed about not playing or being 0-4.
You mentioned the rap sheet and Schefter getting it before he.
Which is just how business is done. Like,
no,
right?
I'm just curious, and I'm taking behind the curtain because you guys know much more about this stuff than we do. Who leaks that? Is that it's not a player? There's no benefit to a player doing it. Is that Elliot Wolf or is that Gerard Mayo or the ownership?
In build time, it was none of the above, and which isn't to say
what I mean. Somebody's doing it now. This happened multiple.
I understand.
Times.
But in the previous administration, and this is not to back out of your answer, because again, ownership has relationships with those guys, people in the front office too, coaching staff, absolutely. It was always Bill's right hand man, Bears Nigerian, and that's in Seth Wickersham's book. That's how he handled a lot of anonymous sourcing and this and that. That's not new information, but everything when Bill would leave a press conference and then it got leaked, that's how and why it happened. It was from the head coach indirectly through his personal assistant.
Yep.
So that's it. All right. You have another take, and then we're going to get to the fans guide for the rebuild. Is there something non-Mayo related, or what else you got?
Well, this is a little bit of a caveat, but, and again, this is based on terrible preseason football, and it was bad. I actually don't hate the wide receivers, and I've hated the wide receivers now for a couple of years. But I see in Douglas, Polk, and Keyshawn Boutte, and obviously KJ Osborne's an okay player. I know you sent me an email. We may use it next week on Mudstack about maybe
Taekwon Thornton. Keep it tight. Stop writing. This is too long.
Well, the Mayo quarterback thing devoured whatever you were going to talk about. So we'll put a pause on that.
Yeah.
But like even Boutte, like that group, athletic, good hands, Javon Baker, like there is something there. But what I'm hopeful is that they realize, Elliott Wolf especially, and maybe we know this from the Brandon Ayuk stuff, they're still missing the number one guy. It's an upgraded wide receiver core, but none of those guys really matter until you get Ayuk, Steph Diggs, JJ, Jamar Chase. Like that's the game now. Okay. And that is the game, the way it's played in the NFL. You make sure you have, if you don't have the elite quarterback, you better have a number one wide receiver. And they have a bunch of good athletic young receivers that I like. And I like some of the plays I saw from Baker and Polk, especially in preseason, but they're still lacking that number one. But I thought the receivers were going to suck eggs. And it turns out they might be okay. They still need one more guy.
Suck eggs. Yeah. I don't remember the last time I heard that phrase. I will absolutely be using it soon, though. Maybe not to describe the Patriots receivers if they end up playing to your expectation here. But yeah, I think that's fair. Look, they have not had a number one receiver. We all know this. We've all seen this. But I think the optimism tied to Jalen Polk and Pop Douglas is earned. Taekwon Thornton, I want to see it in a game. He's been tracking deep balls better. He's had stronger hands. He's physically stronger, added about 8-9 pounds of muscle, but still looks like a receiver 4 to me in one of the worst receiving cores in the league. I'm interested to see if and when Kendrick Bourne comes back, is he trade bait? Because we already know he was in those conversations, and I know and have reported other teams called about him last year, since then, and nothing got done. But right now, that would put you at 7 receivers again if and when he comes back in week 5 or sooner.
He should be. He should be trade bait at this point. They're not trying to win this year. If you can get a draft pick for him, they should be tradable. Unless at that point, Drake May's in, you're trying to develop May. Maybe he helps. We'll see.
Yeah, we'll see. All right. You ready to talk rebuild?
Tank season? Yeah, I'm ready to talk rebuild.
Good man. Season. All right. Let's bring on a tank commander from Washington. Watched many a tank before. Megan Ottolini from WEI, perfectly timed. Also with a husky in the background. Not much sign. Mine husky is in the heart. But we have Killington. Is she about, Megan?
She just sat up, so I'm a little worried that she's going to join and try to talk. But we're going to, fingers crossed, make it through.
We're going to ride this out.
Do we tell Dan, do we blame her real quick that this surprise she ruined yesterday by texting saying she could
Mutt didn't know you were coming on, Megan.
Yeah. Oh, sorry. Andrew, when it's a surprise, it's like a surprise party. You have to tell them that it's a surprise.
It's fair. It's fair. That was also a diet dude that changed hands very quickly. The small.
Did that make oh, yeah. Hey, if anyone ever thought I just did this as a bit, it's not. I'm in my own home right now.
It's not a bit. It's a beat.
What's going on?
Yeah. Sorry to ruin the surprise. Wasted the good surprise on you.
Okay. I didn't respond back, so I was like, maybe Callahan double booked the podcast. I didn't want to be the one to tell him that.
He was concerned. Yeah. But hey, old show partners back together. You guys had me on countless times. So I told Mutt I wanted to do this last year, and then he just kept ignoring me basically until this week. So
he does that.
Yeah, he doesn't respond to your text.
He's like very rude off air. The whole thing is his on-air personality is like, oh, he's fun and he'll say a little bit of snark, but he's pretty nice. And then in the real world, just like the biggest a-hole. It's horrible.
It's like a parent when they take the kids out to the supermarket and they're in public, but as soon as they get in the car, they're yelling and screaming, and you see them gesturing through the window because that's like private. You can't hear them anymore.
Yeah, that's my family. That's the 8 seconds out of the car, they're fine. They get back in the car and they're killing each other. Yeah, that's how it works.
But do either you or your wife really quickly do like the scream whisper at your kids in public?
No, we're now screaming fully. Like we've embraced it. Like, it's not worth hiding. When I was a kid, my mom, God bless her, like we were being Marshalls or TJ Maxx. My brother and I would be complete well, I won't use that word, but we were like
You can say a-holes, that's
little
fine.
tyrants. We were
I was
little
gonna say,
running
what
around.
can we say?
They were
You
like,
can say whatever you want. It's just more work for
Okay.
Amit, my producer, who dislocated his kneecap in the media game 3 weeks ago, which I bring up because I had not seen him since today when he walked in looking perfectly okay.
But as an Italian family, we yelled in public. We're yelling in public at the kids. We yell in the backyard. Last night, outdoor dinner, yelling at the kids. And I noticed the back neighbors, Mego, like they were outside also eating dinner. So they got to hear my youngest son being screamed at for sitting like a lunatic in his seat. So it's just out loud. It's just
For sitting?
He's like sitting his feet up at the table. Like it was a scene. It was a scene. It's early in the school year. Wildness.
It sounds a little swaggy. It sounds like he was sitting with swag.
Nothing swag.
Yeah, Mega, where would he have gotten that from? It's certainly not from Dad.
No, I don't know. I haven't met Mrs. Mutt, so it had to come from her.
This is true.
Prize Picks is America's #1 daily fantasy sports app. They've got over 5 million active members. Look, it is the easiest and most exciting way to play daily fantasy sports. Now, unlike all the other apps, Prize Picks, it's just you against the numbers. That's it. Now, you can win up to 100 times your money on Prize Picks with as little as 4 correct picks. And 1 Caleb Williams passing yard gets you 1 win on Prize Picks every week in September. That's right. Only 1 yard gets you an automatic win every football weekend in September. 4 weeks of free W's. Don't miss this deal on Prize Picks because it's gone when September ends. Now, here's an example of a player projection lineup. You could be going Tyreek Hill for more than 90 receiving yards or Dak Prescott for more than 263 passing yards. On the other end, Josh Allen for less than 240 passing yards and CeeDee Lamb for more than 96 receiving yards. You like those picks? So download the Prize Picks app today and use code CLNS and get $50 instantly when you play $5. That's code CLNS on Prize Picks to get $50 instantly when you play $5. You don't even need to win to receive the $50 bonus. It's guaranteed. Prize Picks. Run your game.
All right. The Patriots also having no swag. They deserve to have their feet on the ground. They might be sitting on their asses as it is. I have an article coming out in the Herald on Sunday, and this is exactly what it's about. How can people survive 18 weeks, 17 games of a team that probably, in all likelihood, is going to suck? Megan, before I even texted you, I failed to realize you've done this plenty of times, rooting for Washington, whatever iteration they've been. What is number 1 in your list of this is how to survive sucky football for 17 games?
Okay, I'll start out with like the bright spots, which is what you have to find in a rebuild. And this is, I call it finding your own Super Bowl, which sounds horrible, but this is your life now because you're not going to go to the Super Bowl again anytime soon. So for me personally, as a Washington fan, it's like any big stages that you could possibly win on. So as a Washington fan, that was always Dallas. If you beat Dallas, if you at least just split with Dallas, because for whatever reason, Dallas is always relevant, then major win in your column. You can celebrate that. You can ride that high for a week, if not longer. There was one time a couple years ago when I was at my cousin's house for Thanksgiving, and Dallas and Washington were playing on Thanksgiving. And I rode that high for like 6 weeks. That got me through and then there was a little Heineke jump after that. So I got that. So it's like, I guess part of it is saying that you really have to lower your expectations so low that anything that feels like it's more than just a routine win of a team even more worse off than you it feels like a Super Bowl because you just had to glom onto that. And I feel like the Patriots have been irrelevant largely for enough years that you can start practicing this. It won't feel like as debasing as it would 4 or 5 years ago.
That's a good point. Mutt, I don't know how well you know the schedule, but are any games screaming to you, okay, I can do this week 3 for London or other games like Megan's talking about?
I've not done that. I would say the divisional games against Buffalo and Miami, and I guess the Jets, if Rodgers said the divisional games, I don't care if they're primetime or not. If you're able to beat those teams, that's a good thing. But I mean, that's to Mego's point, as you get older in life, your expectations of dating get lower, is what I'm told. I got married very early, so I can't speak to that. But that's what it feels like Mego's talking about here is that, and it sounds awful, by the way, that we have to point to divisional games and be an upset here or there, like on the road, as being the highlight as a Patriots fan. That's
I thought you were talking about dating for a second. Does that
take
still
a look
sound
in the
awful?
mirror. Take a look in the mirror. You're not the person you were in your senior year of high school yearbook, and you have to recognize that about yourself. For some of us, that's a good thing.
Yeah, very good thing. Except, actually, I take that back. I wish I had that hair back because it was, believe it or not, a flow once upon a time.
Are there Callahan flow pictures somewhere, like actual hair?
Yes, but no, that is like, I don't think my wife has even seen most of those. Like you're talking about the full on length, shoulder length, 8th grade, kind of let it go, don't care for
Shoulder length. When Andrew, we're like roughly the same age. When was shoulder length in style for guys? Were you like in a Hanson? You're trying to bring Hanson back in the mid-aughts?
It was a time in history that it worked. I think it was like late 04, early 05. Certain girls at our school were down, so was I. So that was it. Down is probably the wrong use.
How old were you when they were down?
It went well. I just gave you a giant hint though when I threw that to you about, is it week 3? Is it week 4? Is it London or any divisional games? Week 3 is Thursday night against the Jets, Patriots' only primetime game this season. I would say that. Mega, does that count?
Sorry, my dog is eating a squeaky toy in the background.
I can't tee up anybody today. That's a yes. Week 4, San Francisco, you win. 4:00 game. I think most of the country will probably be watching that. You've got a big
Andrew.
What?
These expectations are way too high.
Yeah,
you think you're going to beat San Francisco?
This leads me to my next point. And I've never.
If you beat San Francisco, like the rebuild is off. You're taking off. Now there's expectations.
To your point about pick the games that have got a bigger stage, right? San Francisco is a stage. They make Super Bowls. The Jets is a Thursday night. You hate them. You beat them. It feels better. What I'm telling you, though, to the San Francisco point, the upset, a big upset is coming for the New England Patriots. And if you think I'm insane for this, get it out now because I'm about to tell you why.
Tell us why.
I mean, I think the Niners, thinking that you're going to beat the Niners is a little wild. Yeah.
No, I would never bet on that. I would never bet on that. Here's the thing, though. The last 4
You might
teams,
bait on it, though.
You can bait whatever you want.
It would be electric.
Down, like the girls from Mansfield Middle School in 04 and 05. The last 4 teams who earned the number 1 pick in the draft, in the order before they traded it, all beat playoff teams during the regular season. So the worst teams in the league experience the ultimate any given Sunday. And so even though the Patriots suck and their offensive line is terrible and the receiving core still lacks the number 1 target and all this and that, even last year they got a quote unquote signature win when they beat Buffalo in late October. The team is perhaps worse now. They're getting another one of those, whether they like it or not. Meg, Kelly likes that.
Lincoln agrees. Yeah, I guess so.
Persuasive or not?
Yeah, I'm a numbers guy. So if you're telling me the numbers say they're going to win one of those games, then I would believe it just based on the preseason, based on the quarterback to start the year, the offense. Like it's hard to picture that now, but who knows what players get hurt, who steps up where. If you're telling me that I believe you, I believe the numbers. I believe in the numbers. You're saying that, then I'll believe it.
I just ask you with those numbers, and I don't want to be putting a damper on any of it. How much of it has to do with teams who either found something partway through the season that wasn't there before, if you're talking about these playoff teams, or teams that at the end of the season, are there any mitigating factors of sitting starters because you've already got it locked or anything like that? I know that's less of a case than it was maybe 5 or 10 years ago.
Right.
But are there any of those factors at play? Because if that's the case, sure. Like, yeah, I can see the Patriots upsetting the Bills in one of those last couple of week games, but I'm not sure that I would write that in as like, wow, what a moment for the season.
So the definition here, the operational definition is just beating a playoff team, a big upset, which will be, I would say 9 points or more for a spread. Like that's significant. Mutt, checking in on the betting side. 9 points or more, major upset.
Yeah. Touchdown plus is big. That'd be a big upset. Yeah.
So when I mentioned these last 4 teams who picked number 1 overall, go back to 2020. The Jaguars won 1 game, but they beat the Colts, who obviously was a divisional team. The next year, the Jags earned the number 1 pick again. They beat the Bills and then beat the Colts again and eliminated them from playoff contention. The Bears the following season beat the Niners in the season opener, and the Panthers got lucky and beat the Texans before the Texans were the Texans. So the trends in there say it's a team like it's in the division, the Jags and Colts, or you get somebody so early before teams settle in by like Halloween, who's good, you know who's not, you know who everyone else is in the middle, because those are really the instances where this has happened. For the worst teams in the entire league, still beating playoff teams. Okay, good work by everyone. Let's.
Can I give you my next piece of advice for a tanking team?
Well, I want
Sorry,
to get to Mutt because I kind
go.
of we boxed him out here, so I want Mutt to give us some. Something.
And to be fair, mine are not. You had a good one on your list that you sent me, Andrew. Mine are not that serious because I think the on the field product is going to be very tough to watch, and the offense is going to be atrocious. It's going to be 1987 football. I'm having a hard time selling you on the field. So number one is just like last couple of years, enjoy your college football. This team's not going to be good. They're going to have a high draft pick. Hopefully, Elliott Wolf, you recognize you need number one receiver. Go sign a lineman in the free agency. Don't spend a top pick on a left tackle. You know, you wasted the entire offseason not getting one. I'm watching all the top wideouts, and I'm begging this team is bad enough they get one of the 2 or 3 best wide receivers. He's the eventual number one, and then Drake May has the group he has now plus the number one. So even more than last year with the quarterbacks, I'm committing to college football this year and stalking these wide receivers, hoping one ends up in New England.
Mike, you and I both went to UConn, as well documented on this podcast. So we did not really grow up watching big-time college football. No, Megan, you're in a Notre Dame family. Have you watched, though, Mutt, like other teams? Have you adopted an LSU? Do you take I'll watch the ranked games on Saturday? I know betting is somewhere in here, or baiting, as we say here in this podcast. But what's your attitude now towards college ball, given you didn't grow up in it?
The primetime games on Saturday are just awesome. Like the way that they have, and I feel this. I maybe it's different in Boston. The Celtics are still right there, but I think as a country, we've decided NFL is 1, college football is 2. And the amount of production and effort put into it. And then on top of that, every Monday or Tuesday, you get these draft guys then telling you who the best players are. Like I am way more into that was as a kid. Like unless you were a Boston College fan, you didn't care about college football. And you had Glenn Foley, you had a couple Mike Cloud, those old BC teams, a couple of teams made a run. But Northeast college football is not great. You know, again, Donald Brown at UConn, I guess, Terry Cawley, shout out running backs. So I like the primetime games and the high-scoring offenses like Oregon, like the SEC teams. Obviously, LSU has been a wide receiver factory. So that's what my focus has been. And those games are always in primetime on Saturday nights, which is awesome.
Mego?
Yeah, I think it's an interesting point because, like you say, Mutt, that college football is now the number 2 sport overall, kind of community sport among the country. There are parts of the country, I mean, like where I grew up, there was still a big Washington fan base. And if you weren't a huge Washington fan, you were probably a Ravens fan at some point. But I feel like at times college football was a bigger deal than NFL where I grew up. So that's not such a new thing to me. I think what's different to me now is what you guys are pointing out, which is the connection, the pipeline from the individual college talent to the NFL draft and who might end up on your team. And I think it's fun to pick that out because it's almost like a fantasy approach where you're looking at specific receivers. How would this guy work with Drake May? Anybody else, if you're a total dork and you're looking at offensive linemen, which the Patriots certainly need right now, but you're like, oh, look at that big boy. Left tackle is going to be eaten for a while in the NFL. Then that, I guess, if that gets you going, like, go ahead. I just feel like it's a little bit of a crapshoot to totally invest yourself in the entire college game just so that you can pick out, hey, these are the guys that I like come draft season.
Yeah, I want to have an opinion on these guys at the end and be able to separate them because I hope there was enough of them that are. I haven't looked at the 2025 draft yet. My bad. There's enough that are good enough that there's somebody there for the Patriots. So I'm sure Callahan will have a column this week on the 2025 draft. It's probably
how about a couple names for you right now?
Okay.
Of course.
Especially when I can't pronounce them. Well, again, there's like a story actually coming out Sunday where I have this exact thing. It says dive into college football because, look, again, as someone who grew up in Connecticut, the weirdest sports state in the union, didn't really know college football, covered it for 2 to 3 years and had an absolute ball. I still watch, and not just Penn State, but like all the top 25 games because there are more teams, more schemes, more drama, generally more fun. If you want to hone in, though, and be a dork, as Mego put it, lovingly, felt like that was...
If you're talking about offensive linemen in college, you're a dork.
Yes. Yep. Fair.
Or if that gets you going, I think, as you said. Anyways, you figure out your mic because you've been muted for too much offensive line erotica talk. Travis Hunter for Colorado. He's potential top pick, plays receiver and cornerback. How easy is that? They're playing tonight against North Dakota State. They're going to play a lot. They're going to play Nebraska next week. Watch Colorado. Missouri's Luther Burden III, expected to be a top 10 pick. I would never watch Missouri. I'm going to put that on now because they've got a receiver who might affect my job next year. Arizona has one. His last name is McMillan. I'm not taking a shot on the first name. And then Ohio State, like LSU, another receiver factory. Speaking of LSU, again for the dorks, Will Campbell and Emory Jones Jr., both tackles. You don't have to watch one. You can watch both. Those dudes are all projected to go in the first round, maybe top 5, might be top 10. So if you don't want to do what Mutt and I are doing, the primetime games, the top 25 ones, they're your scouting guys to watch.
Okay. Can I ask you something that is a little bit of a tangent, but since we're having offensive line talk, do you feel like when you're, I guess for lack of a better term, scouting these offensive linemen from college?
No, it's a great word. That's a perfect word. I'd say that's excellent.
What it just makes you sound like you're taking this incredibly seriously, which makes me worried for you and Alicia. But if you're doing this, do you have the expectation that these offensive linemen who are not at the level of, say, Joe Alt from this previous draft, but a run-of-the-mill guy who's going to be a higher draft pick first couple rounds, what is the expectation that they're actually going to be prepared to play, say, next season on the line for Drake May? Because you hear so much chatter about how much less offensive linemen are allowed to do in terms of once you get into camp. And hey, we've seen guys like Cole Strange who struggle with the body type. Sometimes that's expected to come in and everything that goes along with ramping up to actually being an NFL level offensive lineman.
Yeah, it's a really good question. And I mentioned this, I think a couple episodes ago. So it's a good refresher. It's just to say that no matter even if you're taking in the top 5 or top 10, there's a learning curve more with offensive tackles who are appreciably worse than other guys in that area playing other positions as rookies. They usually develop into it. And the example I keep giving is Andrew Thomas because it's the most extreme example with the Giants, who looks like this all-time freaking bust. And now if you were to pick up Madden tomorrow, you're like, oh, the Giants have a tackle who's an 89 or a 90. That's great. That's what you want. So I don't think they have much of an impact, even if you get someone that high level. I will say this, though. What you're looking for are exceptionally rare traits, and then players like Joe Wall, or ideally more of an LSU type, who have faced the closest level of competition you would have in the NFL. So, physically, this is not an issue. He's already an NFL athlete, and he's seen as much, NFL competition as one can just based on his schedule. Everything else, though, is a crapshoot. And it's not a redshirt rookie year, but like Caden Wallace is not going to end up starting a bunch of games this year. If he does, it's bad news because he's a rookie.
I wish somebody told Elliot Wolf that.
Yeah, me too. What
Wow,
else?
that was an absolute rant on offensive line scouting. I was not expecting that on my bingo card today.
Bring the listeners back in, Mutt. Be a teammate.
This is what it's like to cover a team that sucks. Welcome.
Okay, so I'll start with number 2. It's okay to cheat on your team this year, Patriot fans. Whether you want to get a second TV or you would like to just change the channel, Red Zone is your friend. Subscribe. Watch Scott Hansen. He never goes to the bathroom, and those games are good. And by the way, when you're watching that, if the Pats are in a close game, you can always flip back. But going back to the offense, I love offensive football. We all should. I think his offense with Brissett at the helm is going to be atrocious, even with some younger wide receiver talent. It's okay to cheat on the team with Scott Hansen in Red Zone. The days of you have to not do anything, in my opinion, during that 3-hour Patriots block, those are done. Those are done. They need to prove to me this year like they're going to be worth watching because my spiciest take will tie into this, but there's a real chance they're one of, if not the worst team in football. You don't have to watch every game. Do not feel guilty is my point.
So you are dating again, though. It sounds like you're on the market. You're doing the thing you said you would hate to do again. You're doing this just with football.
Yes. The teams on Red Zone that I gambled on are definitely like in my radar. Like it's that meme where it's like, so let's look at the Patriots. Then the team I bet on walks by, so I turn around and look at them. That's okay this year. You can look. You can even watch the whole thing. I don't care.
Megan, what's acceptable football cheating for someone who did a relationship segment for a long time?
So I take it even further. I've been doing this for a long time because my team has rarely been relevant. So I'd always say, well, I have my team and then I have my playoff team. So I'd like almost half commit to another team, and you can change it year. You change it year to year. You get to have fun with this. It's basically like, who do you think is the spicy team that year? Who's the fun team that year? Who's the team where you think you see something in that nobody else sees in? Or like, don't go for the Chiefs. and don't go for the Bills. Don't go for someone in your own division, but choose someone in the opposite conference. So, if you decide that you're going to, I don't know.
Who did you pick?
Maybe,
like the last 2 years?
I kind of stopped doing this when I started doing sports full time because
Well, take us back to 2016 or whenever you were doing
a lot
this
of
last.
attention to the Patriots. For me, an easy one was always Baltimore because I always felt a little bit like I lost something there because I remember when they came back, because I grew up and it was all about Washington and the Colts had taken off in the middle of the night and you had all these sad old guys who would talk about the Colts. And then they brought in the Ravens and I was like, that's so dorky. Who'd go be a Ravens fan? And then they won the Super Bowl a few years later. So I was like, wow, really think I missed the boat on that one. So for time to time, it's been the Ravens, but for me, a lot of different AFC teams. Obviously, like the Bengals are fun to root for because I think Joe Burrow is just an ideal human and I love everything about him. And he's just fun to root for as a football player. But just go out there, find somebody in the other conference, somebody that you find entertaining. Basically, the style of football, and again, this goes to you, Mike. Like you're probably not watching the games for defense. So if you find an offense that you like, if you're watching Philly and you're like the rest of the league gets so pissed off about the push, but I like that, and I like the little drama on the side that's going on between Sirianni and Hurts and what's going to happen there. And I really like the weapons they have. Okay, go watch your Philly games. Don't buy gear. Like, don't take it too far. But at least you can get a little bit emotionally invested in a different group and say, hey, I still see you over here. I'm still watching you, but I need something else to emotionally fill this void.
So one thing they don't tell you about this job is you get one question a lot. Hey, do you get tickets? No, I don't. I have one press pass. It's got my name on it. I am the only person I can let into Gillette Stadium on Sundays to watch the Patriots play. But if I was going to get you tickets, I know I would go to Game Time, where you could find any NFL or college football game. And I've used this before myself. I told you to go to Red Sox games at Fenway. And right now, Game Time is better than ever because they've got a new feature called Game Time Picks. It makes getting tickets to see your favorite teams play even easier. It filters out all of the fluff, only incredible deals, all for you on great seats, so you don't have to waste time searching through thousands and thousands of tickets. Plus, I mentioned I go to Fenway. This is my favorite feature. I get to see the seat view before you buy. I don't need to toggle between one site, then buying the other, and then check if there are lowest prices at Game Time or elsewhere, because they're at Game Time. They have a lowest price guaranteed in event cancellation protection, job loss protection, everything. And if you find a lower price elsewhere, they give you 110% of that refund. So go to Game Time now, download the app, create an account, and use code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Terms do apply. Again, create an account and redeem code CLNS for $20 off your first purchase. Pat's tickets at home, Pat's tickets on the road, college football on Saturdays, whatever you want. Just download Game Time today. What time is it? Game Time.
Yeah.
This
is the reality of it.
That's so depressing. Damn.
I know, guys. You don't understand what it's like to be in this for decades.
No, I won't say for decades, but again, there is you guys are younger than I am. If you're in your mid 40s, this is the Patriots growing up. It was Scott Secules, Steve Grogan, Scott Solak, Vincent Brisby, just terrible football. So there's a younger fan base that doesn't know what it's like. If you're a Patriots fan since like the, after 86 on the Super Bowl, like those early 90s, pre-Parcells, like sort of feels like it'd be one of those years. So it's not been that long since Pats fans had to deal with this.
Rod Rust, you think?
Rod Rust, Dick McPherson, man, I guess Michael Timpson, some old Patriots. Oof,
do you guys be honest? Is there a little piece of you that wonders, or I think this? There's a piece of like Patriots fans that are excited about sucking this bad, because they can prove that they're like real Patriots fans. I think there are people of Andrew and I's age group where they've been spoiled for most of their lives, where they've actually been able to pay attention and follow and care about football. And they hear all the older heads saying like, you don't know what it was like. You don't know what it was like before at the old Foxborough Stadium, blah, blah, blah. And it's like, okay, whatever, boring. We were there for the greatest dynasty of all time. And now it's like, no, I can prove that I actually care about football and I actually care about my team. I'm not just there for Brady and Belichick.
I think what that is yes, people in New England are excited to tell you, I'm better than you. Yeah, I think I'm better than you. And that's it, because I'm hanging out here a little bit longer. But I think they're excited maybe to see people go away or came in and joined like Zappy Hour and we're like, oh, this is
It's like the posers are gone.
Yeah, exactly. But it's not about them. I'm not proving anything. It's getting away, the garbage that I'm better than. So that's
that's good. I'm glad you brought up Zappy. What do those people do now? The ones who bought the jersey of a backup quarterback and cheered for him and cheered over Mac Jones. Those people, they still wear those? Did they burn them? Did they just leave? Like they bought
they drink.
jerseys
That's
of
what
the
they
backup
do.
quarterback.
I don't know.
They deserve some sort of punishment.
I'm not going to go that far. Doug put this very eloquently and fairly last episode. He's not the most screwed over quarterback. He got to play. He got a couple of wins under his belt, whatever. But he's not very good. And he stepped into a garbage couple of seasons with the offensive coaching staffs. And that's too bad. But people who saw a starting caliber quarterback in him were always wrong, have been wrong. I'm not celebrating. I'm not telling them I'm better than you. But I'm just saying, like, yeah, it's all time to move on. He's surely very happy in Kansas City. And that's just it. I don't know what they have to do. Maybe stadium stairs once they get into their next home game. Just do half the stadium. No,
I think
full
this
stadium.
This is like if you actually had a Zappy jersey, I can't imagine there's so many out there.
We saw them on TV. It was a Sunday Night Football.
I know, but if you had them, you should have to have that tattooed, like the jersey name across your shoulders.
Another man's name
in the
across the back
and everything. I'm not saying the number, but you should have to be like branded Zappy, like they have on the jersey, just across your shoulders, and that's the way you go through the rest of life.
I think there's a
That's
guy
ridiculous.
on the beat who has one of those. Or
He
will
has a
now.
tattoo like that?
Yeah. He it's one of those websites, not Nesson, maybe Mass Live. I don't know. We'll come back to it. But speaking of Zappy, he would have been a young player coming up, and he's not anymore because there's a new quarterback, Drake May. My other idea for how to survive the season, just watch the kids. Like, if they're going to play and be the future, and the Patriots only really care about Drake May and Jalen Polk and Javon Baker and Demario Douglas. Oh, Keon White can hang out. Christian Gonzalez. Watch them too, because they're going to be around here for a while. So you will take more joy in watching them develop from, oh, he got burned this time, or Keon White hasn't had a sack. Next year, if they take off, you'll have had stock at the lowest point, and you will have enjoyed that because you went through the struggles of this year. Because they're all going to play. You might as well just hone on them like they have. You have a separate fantasy team of guys who are just in the Patriots and may or may not suck right now.
That sounds like a terrible fantasy team. God, that sounds boring. Oh, I have Christian Gonzalez. Yay. Taekwondo.
I think I had you until the end, though. Like just watch the kids. It only makes sense. Like if Vidarian Lowe gives up a sack and you're not really watching the whole offense, you're just watching the receivers. You don't care that much. Like, you didn't see it.
Can I tell you the number one way to get through this season?
Oh, yeah, please.
Hey, fill your heart with hate. Like, pick out the team that you
actually good.
hate.
That's good.
And root like hell against them. Because I will say, as you get older, it doesn't matter really if you work in sports or not. At some point, you're never going to be the fan that you were when you were 12 years old. It's just your brain changes, the brain chemistry changes, your life hopefully changes. So you're never going to be that. I hate Dallas more than I did when I was 12 years old, because I had to live through the Tony Romo era. Now I had to live through the Dak Prescott era. So nothing makes me happier than being able to sit there and like laugh my ass off every time that the Cowboys implode in the playoffs. And people are looking at their starting quarterback going, is he good? I don't know. We don't know if he's good. Should we be paying him this much? I don't know. What's our coach going to do? Is Jerry Jones just crazy? And I'm
Who's
like,
that team for Patriots fans? Is it Aaron Rodgers?
You have to decide for yourselves. Is it going to be the Jets? The Jets feel
I think
too
there's
easy.
some clear options here.
I think the Dolphins are kind of fun.
No, Bills. The Bills. Josh Allen's the next. It's got to be Buffalo, right? But they beat Buffalo a couple years ago. Or Rodgers. Yeah, you might be right. It's a divisional team. That's the team. Pick one.
Yeah, it's usually a divisional team. I mean, we'll put it this way. Who would you say has been the Patriots' biggest rivals when they were good?
Well, but that's been so long ago. I think all the rivals are gone. I remember writing about this in 2020. Like, they're playing the Ravens. Hey, they're not going to see them for another 2 years, and they haven't seen them in 2 or 3. This rivalry's dead. Steelers and you are both like hanging out. The Patriots usually win, and you're both pretty average right now. Like they're gone. Buffalo and Miami beat you almost every single time.
I think it's Buffalo, and I think Buffalo is actually primed to underachieve this year compared to where everybody expects them to always be because of having Josh Allen. And I feel like it's going to be a lower year for them. So it would be more fun if you're a Patriots fan and you want to circle Buffalo and say like, okay, like we're going to make fun of you because a couple of years ago you thought that you were going to be us because you had Josh Allen. And now look where you are. You're just stuck in neutral. But the issue with last season was you could have had this with the Jets, especially with Aaron Rodgers when he got up there in the Sunday night promo or Monday night promo, whatever it was, when he's saying, I don't know why everyone's so afraid to say Super Bowl out loud. But then he goes and blows the Achilles and you don't see him for the entire year. So you didn't even get to like revel in the failure of the Jets because it happened so quickly. So I would say fill your heart with hate. Pick out your team that you legitimately hate. This has to be a real emotion. You can't just manufacture it. Like someone who bothers you. And don't pick the Chiefs because that's just jealousy. Like you're just jealous and you'll make fun of Patrick Mahomes' voice. You'll make fun of Travis Kelce and Taylor Swift, but that's just you being like incredibly jealous and it's just a bad look. So pick another team, decide how much you hate them, who really bothers you, and odds are they're going to fail to win the Super Bowl. So then you can revel in their failure.
Yeah, just like Andrew hates many people on the Patriots beat. He won't say it on this show, but we've talked privately. We all know.
It's true.
I mean, two in particular.
It's actually just jealousy. That's what it is. That's all it is.
If you don't want to hate the way Mego does, you want to be happy every week. You want to be enjoying the Patriots game.
You will be happy because somebody will fail.
Well, you might be richer though. If I think I know where money's going.
You can gamble on that failure. If you're of legal age, you should be gambling every week on the NFL. You can take your favorite player for the Patriots, play their player props. You can bet with the Patriots, think they're going to pull an upset, root for them. You can bet against the Patriots as an emotional hedge. If they win the game, you're happy. If they lose, you lose some money, but they've won some. Maybe they've won your hearts by winning a game. I think gambling is the way to get through. Sports betting on football gets you through a terrible Patriots season.
That's such toxic advice.
Responsibly. Betting responsibly.
Okay, well, your last take, Mego, I asked Mutt for his 3 spicy takes. He's given us 2 before you came on, and he saved 1 for the end. Is that betting related? Because if it's not, then I want just a bet or 2 now that you think could help people get through either a long-term bet or a week 1 or a prop or anything that you feel could make people a little bit happier, if not richer, moving forward.
Yeah, I think what I've seen in preseason, I'm all over the Patriots under of 4.5 wins. And the caveat is, like, and maybe I'm reading it wrong. I read the Mayo thing today is like Wolf is making the decision and Brissett's going to play as long as possible. And the more he plays, the worse they're going to be. Actually, I think they'd be better with Drake May because he can avoid some of this trouble. He's going to make mistakes, but he's athletic enough to try to make use of this awful, awful offensive line. So I think they're going to be bad. And I also think sneakily, probably not a word.
It is.
They want to be bad.
A word.
Is it? Okay, good. I think they want to be bad. I think that Wolf would like a very high draft pick. So I think a good bet is the Patriots under 4.5 wins. And I think a longer shot bet is Patriots have the fewest wins in the NFL, which depending on where you look, the odds are, various, but I think there's a chance they win the fewest games in the NFL. They protect Drake May really all year, and it's not very good. So do with that what you will, but I think it'd be very bad. I have not bought into anything I've seen this preseason. I've been wrong before. They look like a really bad, wandering, different people thinking different approaches, GM, coach, offensive coordinator, not on the same page. Bad year for the Patriots, high draft pick. Under total wins, fewest wins in the NFL.
So I don't have the lines in front of me of what exactly they would be, but I would place individual bets on the under for almost everything offensively, with the exception weekly with the exception of 2 guys. And Andrew, you can tell me if you think I'm totally off base with this. I would at least entertain the over in catches and yards for both Demario Douglas and Antonio Gibson. Now, I have more experience with Antonio Gibson, and so I understand his cases of the dropsies. But I do think that those are 2 guys who, on a largely unexperienced group of weapons around whoever is going to be the quarterback, are going to function as something like a binky, a safety blanket for whoever's out there moving down the field. I wonder if when they get back into the red zone, and Andrew, I feel like you're dying to jump in here, but when they get into the red zone,
the lines. I think that's. Did you pull them up?
No, I was efforting. I couldn't find the exact lines that Mega was talking about. But I go ahead. I'll let you finish.
Even week by week, though, I would look at those guys as just depending on the matchup. But I feel just by the way, this is going to be a really, really bad offense. And if you want something that makes you happy to root for, pick out an individual guy who's actually going to get a lot of targets and run a lot. Like the obvious ones in there are Ramondre Stevenson, and even in the red zone, Hunter Henry, if they can turn him back into the red zone weapon that he was in 2021. But I think that I would look at those two guys if I was going week to week. Is there a way, and this is just because I'm not fully in the betting world, are there any dates that you can bet for week to week for Drake May's start?
I have no idea.
I have not seen anywhere like, hey, what's that again, Andrew?
No, go ahead.
I don't know if I haven't looked today to see if they've updated that to see like what the over under start date is for him. I didn't look for that today.
And that also might just be fluid anyway. You know, like Jacoby Brissett got hurt in the last game he played and he lasted one series. So they might be like, we have no idea because it could be not a game. It could be the second half of the opener. To your point, Mego, about Pop Douglas and Antonio Gibson, I also don't know the lines. I think that's pretty crucial to giving out betting advice. But the theory, the reasoning behind it is super sound. So the Gibson one between the two of them, I think, is worth exploring a little bit more because people go, yeah, Pop Douglas, I've heard about him in camp. He's like leading the team in catches. He was the best receiver last year, yada, yada. Antonio Gibson is their third down back. Like that's what he is. And so when they are behind and they are trying to play catch up and every defense is in this too high shell, it's going to be a check down or a dump off or whatever you want to call it to Antonio Gibson. Who's got very good hands, had a very good camp. And I mentioned the dropsies. It's more the fumbleitis that has me worried that he just might be laid up week 6 for a couple of games with that because he's been benched and can't play. But inevitably, you just have to play your best players. And right now, he's, I think, at worst, 5th, maybe 6th on this roster as far as guys you want handling the ball. Him, Pop Douglas, Hunter Henry, Jalen Polk, Ramondre Stevenson, and then I think that's it.
It's also what smart teams are doing now. You look around the NFL, they all have a receiving back. They have their running back first and second down, receiving back. And Antonio Gibson is a legit good receiving back. I think he'll be a viable play if you're playing daily fantasy this year, where it's 1 point for reception. He's going to get, to Mego's point, some games going to have 4, 5, 6 catches out of the backfield because that's the safety net. That's the cheat code. Get him against a linebacker. So I like those. And those are two guys, and especially Gibson, will monitor from week to week as their player props go up. They're going to be worth looking at for like receiving yards and reception, especially early in the year.
Yeah, and I still like
if we had the lines there. Oh.
Yeah, it's
imagine if the lines existed.
Yeah. I think we'd have a very different podcast than right now. Can I also just give us a pat on the back for not just jumping after 45 minutes now straight to drinking? Like the way to get through the season is just to become an alcoholic. Like that would have been the easy, joking solution. It's still on my list, to be clear, Sunday when this comes out in a print newspaper, somehow still being made near of our Lord 2024. But good job by us. Have we missed anything here?
Trying to think. My main ones: find your playoff team, find your own Super Bowl, revel in others' failures.
That's my favorite. Also, all tied to gambling responsibly. But like, if you want to pick a team, you think the Chargers are going to be way better, that they've been like a sexy pick, or the Jags, or I don't know, Washington. Like, you think they're going to be good, you'll be a lot more motivated when it's your money on the line this year.
Don't lose all your self-respect. You want to go
from money or self-respect. I don't know, maybe.
I have none. Nope. I have zero self-respect. I have a newsletter, but no self-respect.
All right. Mutt has a spicy take to give. Megan, I would say you can either match with your own, or we can both just react to Mutt and get out of here.
Well, let me hear what Mutt says.
That was mine, right? That my spicy take was that under.
You think they'll have the fewest wins in the NFL? That was it?
Yes. I think they'll have the fewest wins in the NFL. And the asterisk I put on there was unless they decide early in the year to go to Drake May. Because I think the team could be more explosive offensively with Drake May at quarterback, I just don't see it happening. So I think they could have the fewest wins in the NFL this year and come up with the number 1 pick. I think it's very, not likely, but very possible for a team that says they're trying to win with Jacoby Brissett.
Okay, my spicy take, and I don't even know that it's that spicy, is I think that Drake May is the starter by week 6. I think that they are going to have some early blowouts in this season, and that will give them the opportunity to at least have Drake May get out there and get the feeling of, oh my God, I'm behind this horrible offensive line in a regular NFL season game. And the big mystery is who handles him day to day during the season. If it's Ben McAdoo, if it's the quarterback's coach, because probably Van Pelt is going to be off doing the install and everything for game prep that week. Can they get him to a place where on scout team he's impressing and he's showing you that he's actually good enough to do more than mop up dirty for Jacoby Brissett? But all that aside, like Andrew, even as you said, Jacoby Brissett, God bless him, he knows what his job is here, but he's also not the most durable quarterback. So he's already coming in with a shoulder that, okay, who knows what happened there? He's behind a horrible offensive line.
And you could be an Iron Man and you are not surviving this entire season unless the offensive line improves, which unfortunately doesn't make for a great podcast conversation because we don't know how cohesion will come. And I will note today, probably too late in this episode, Mike Onwenu was still back at right tackle. Okay. And it's not because he ballooned up 80 pounds, which was nonsense for Michael Lombardi, who's shameless.
Great story from Karen, by the way.
Yes, it's just shilling for Bill, who will say the things he doesn't want to say in any of his 6 different media gigs to Michael Lombardi, who will then say the things. Michael Onwenu can play tackle. He looks like the same player, but that is a big game changer for this offensive line. And then by extension, Drake May, because the other things you'll hear from people who don't want to go on the record about them, let's say national reporters. Ian Rappaport had a segment today that he tweeted out about the offensive line situations in flux, and you don't know the cohesion, and the guy next to you need to develop trust in him, and it just takes time to figure all that out. See, I got a little case of deja vu when I heard that, because the last time we heard from Elliot Wolf, he was saying the exact same things, and partly because it's just true, but secondarily, for a guy who has not spoken in a press conference, and Ian was the first person to hear about the quarterback news today, I'm not sure that's an accident. I'll leave that right there. But anyway, the offensive line is a big part of that, and you can't separate the quarterback conversation, I don't think, from that line, because as I wrote, Jacoby's being paid to be a pinata right now, and that's just sadly and brutally what it is.
Real quick follow-up before we get out of here. To Mego's point about week 6 being the potential target, because I think she's onto something.
I think 5 or 6, those back-to-back home games, like if they are in a blowout in week 5, that feels like a perfect time to throw the kid in there, see him survive fourth quarter mop-up duty. Sorry, Matt, real quick, and then start him the following week.
What do you feel like ownership's appreciation of this is, Andrew? Because they have a young quarterback, but they've had a rough year. The Bill exit was atrocious. They brought him up with that terrible handshake. Bill buried them. It was bad blood. And now they have taken a lot of crap now for almost going on a year. Do you think they're motivated to win games this year to the point where if they're losing to Mego's point, will they go down and say, Elliott and Gerard, we need to win, put Drake May in? What's ownership's stance going into the season?
So I do not know, and I want to make this impossibly clear, what ownership stance is, their level of involvement, any of that. But it is not hard to imagine. That's a full end of period sense. None of this that follows is reporting. It's just talking out loud. If your ownership, to your point, you just took L after L after L after L in the offseason. Your one win really was Drake May, which you wanted, and the quarterback is here, and the GM wanted him, the head coach wanted him, and everyone is excited based on what he did in preseason, and you're struggling to fill seats, which we will see at Gillette Stadium, still among the most expensive stadiums to fill in the NFL by average ticket price. Yeah, of course, I think Jonathan, who I believe will at some point probably be more hands-on than Robert, and if he's already a little bit more hands-on, because Robin Glazer's new title is direct senior advisor to the head coach, so she's somewhere in the circle, maybe not the inner circle, but she's there. Well, her direct link is to Jonathan. So I don't know if there's a lot of pressure or any pressure at all. But of course, it's easy to conceive of that, right? Like that's just what it is. If you're 0-4 or 0-5, you're taking more literal L's, and you can't fill a stadium to those back-to-back home games that Megan just highlighted, Miami and then Houston, and then you go to London. Because what triggered all of this last year, remember, right? Belichick loses to the Colts. International disaster. Tommy Curran hears days later oh, he's done. It's over. And Tom holds on to that for a few weeks. But if it's another international disaster, I bet the next call is not the head coach is out. It's the young quarterback's in.
Yeah, makes sense. Makes sense.
All right. That was fun, guys.
Yeah.
Yeah.
Did we all fun? Did Killy have fun back there, Mego?
She was sequestered into a different room by my wonderful husband, who came home at some point, and that's why I was having to put my microphone on mute, because she started howling at the top of her lungs. So, but don't need her hot takes on the podcast, quite frankly.
Next time. Mutt, your husky is still fine up there, looking as gorgeous as ever.
Yeah, I've had 2 different contractors bail. I'm desperate to get rid of this thing. We're trying to. So if someone's watching and they want to, I got to build cabinets, dude. This looks so. I mean, it's like a college dorm room.
What's going on behind you?
What's the problem with that? It's your basement.
No, I want to look better. So if you're a cabinet builder and you want, shoot me a DM on social media. I'll get a quote. We'll quote you up here.
Are you selling that husky? Like, we went actually do a Facebook marketplace, but like
the blanket? No, I'm not selling the blanket. I'm not getting rid of the. I want to make it look more professional. So it's not a blanket hang. It's been a year of blanket up there doing these shows with you. Gotta fix it.
Your blankie.
You know what I think is a good look in your background? If you hang like a bunch of your race medals behind you from running, or whatever those competitions are, Andrew.
Oh, so I know where you were going, but you slipped on the dismount. There are credentials.
Those are credentials?
Those are credentials.
Oh my God, that's even
throw
worse.
Them away. What are you collecting credentials for?
You're
out of your mind.
Wait, that's psychotic, Andrew.
That's also not even half of it. But hey, look, if you want to appreciate where you are, you got to remember where you've been. So up there is
I thought that was like your marathon medal, and I thought, well, that's cute, but maybe not in the shot.
First of all, that would be one single medal. Is there a medal over there? Oh, there is
this Penn State Purdue game I covered, and it was so good. Oh, Penn State, Ohio, what a thriller that was.
Excuse me, this was Darien High School versus New Canaan in February 2014, baby. So no Penn State Purdue for me. We'll go through it next time. How about that?
We'll do it there.
Good.
See you guys. Bye.
Awesome. Thanks, guys. All right, edition number 4 of the 4-minute drill here with number 5, Jabril Peppers. Excited to have you on. We got a long list of guests, but I'd be lying if I said I wasn't looking forward to having you on a little bit more than some guys that come up. All right, so here's the deal. Alternating football with non-football questions. Once I start the clock, we'll go. You can't run out the clock. That's the only rule. Ready, set, there we go. All right, Jabril, you take a lot of pride in being a physical dude, how hard you hit. Have you ever, in your entire football career, hit someone so hard you felt bad, a little bad?
No, never, no.
Never, not once.
That's the name of the game.
All right.
I'm not trying to, injure anybody, but I definitely want you to feel me.
Yeah. Sure. All right, off the field, how romantic is Jabril Peppers?
I'm a lover boy. I can't lie. You won't believe it by how I play football, but, I got a little romance to me.
Can you give us an example?
Flowers, at work, date nights, flower petals on the floor, things like that.
All right.
Yeah, I get into it.
That sounds like a Pro Bowl romantic right there. Going back to football, looking back at the last 2 years, I want you to give us an example of one of your favorite coverage disguises. So what you guys were showing on one play, what it ended up being, and then how the play went. Could have been a pick, pass deflection, or just an incompletion.
I think it was my first year here against Miami. We were showing a max blitz look. Then we broke out into like a match cover 2 look. Doug got a pick 6 on that. Stiff arm Teddy Bridgewater in the face. And then probably the Steelers look where I got the pick. We were trying to show not max, but a little pressure. Try to show opposite. I kind of rolled into my half from a man-to-man alignment and, made a great play on the ball. So
it's a sim pressure there. That wasn't even a full blitz.
Yeah, simulated, yeah.
Good. All right, run it down. 2.5 minutes here in the 4-minute drill. What are you watching at home? Like, give us a show, a couple movies.
Blacklist. I just finished Your Honor, Presumed Innocent. I was watching House of Dragon, but I think that's on standby right now.
Why is that?
I don't know. I just think that's how they did it, or maybe it was the season finale. I'm not sure. And Power, the Book of Tyreek, or the Book of Ghosts. That's on standby. It's coming back out in September.
All right, if you got to recommend one, what should the people watch?
Definitely Presumed Innocent or Your Honor, for sure.
Okay. Back to the field. If I'm chirping Jabril Peppers at the start of a game, and you don't really know me, I know you're up in your scouting report, but I'm a practice squad guy, and you don't know me, what does Jabril Peppers say back to me?
Like, who are you?
That's it. That's keep it sweet and not so simple.
Keep it short and sweet, because that'll hit harder than you going back and forth with them.
All right.
Guys have done that to me, so I know from experience.
Really?
Yeah.
Because that leads to the next question. Is that I think you were at one time the biggest recruit in the country, number one in the entire country, which would then make you famous. Everyone should have known high school, college who Jabril Peppers was. Yeah. So that makes me wonder, what was the first time someone asked you for an autograph?
Definitely high school, probably like my freshman year.
Really?
Yeah.
How'd you take that?
It was new. It was new for me coming from Pop Warner. I went up and played for the number one team in the country at the time. Ended up starting on varsity. Had a good year. Got some scholarships, and after that, the rest is kind of history.
Do you know for a fact that is he on eBay anywhere? Do you think that person made money off of that, like holding on to it?
Probably if he was smart. He probably held on to it, probably sold it by now. But if he did it, it's good sentimental value in that.
All right, under a minute left. Who in the locker room would you least like to date your sister?
Shoot. Probably like Pop or Taekwondo, one of those guys, one of the receivers probably.
All right, so you just did him dirty, but you played by the rules. Why? Give us one quick reason why.
I don't know. If I had a sister, I wouldn't let none of my teammates date my sister. But if I had to choose, it'd probably be somebody out that receiver room.
Okay, I got it. A receiver thing.
Yeah,
Very good. Last one. I've asked everyone this question. What is your least favorite media question?
I feel like I'm been doing this for so long, and I could kind of answer anything. I just remember that I can control my answer. I can't control what they ask, but I can control my answer for sure.
Good man. You can control the clock. That was at the buzzer. Jabril Peppers, all-star, all-pro performance, and a Pro Bowl romantic. We got to learn about that. Thank you, bro. Appreciate you.
That's it.